Hello, and on today's episode, I'm here with Matteo Leibowitz of the CryptoChat newsletter. How are you today?
I'm great, thank you. Thank you for having me on, Jason. Excited to be here.
Oh, yes, of course. So could you tell me a little bit about the problems you're trying to solve with this newsletter?
Sure. So CryptoChat has been around for about a year and a half at this point. So when I initially started the newsletter, which was in June 2017, there really wasn't a portal that aggregated news across the industry. So even today, we're still in this very nascent stage of the crypto asset blockchain industry. It's an emerging market, and you don't have these, you don't have participation from mainstream media organizations. You don't have those levels of resources. So when I first started the newsletter, what I was trying to do was I was addressing the fragmentation of content within the industry. And so I decided to start aggregating this content together, curating it as well, and presenting a consolidated source of information to my readers and my audience. These days, obviously the landscape looks pretty different. There is a serious proliferation of newsletters and media, more serious media players out there. I'm sure you're aware of groups like The Block and Masari, which are crypto-focused media organizations. And then there's a ton of good quality newsletters out there as well. I think Token Economy probably leads the pack and has also been around for about a year and a half. So, the problem these days, crypto content, or at least crypto news, has almost become commodified. And there isn't too much to properly distinguish these newsletters. So it becomes more about curation, it becomes more about analysis. So the problems that I'm trying to solve right now are more on the analysis front, putting out original content, building a brand, featuring more kind of data-driven content rather than kind of just aggregating news, which has become commoditized, as I said already.
Yeah, the aggregation of the news has kind of become an epidemic. You'll see the same article like recycled and remassaged and changed, repeated like 12 times.
Exactly, and it's not really providing any marginal value anymore. So I think the real value play right now is, as I said, to emphasize analysis, to really build a brand and a tone that readers can buy into and support and trust as a lens through which to approach this fascinating industry.
Yeah, there's a real value with these newsletters curating content because there is so much of it out there that is so low quality, not just the ones that are being kind of recycled, but with these bounty programs, people are kind of being compensated just to churn out as many articles as they possibly can about whatever token.
Yeah, it's hilarious. I'm pretty sure I was there when this bounty idea was initially formalized. I think it was actually QuantStamp who invented this idea of proof of care. And so they were encouraging their ICO investors to publish as much content as they possibly could. And then this idea of proof of care really took off and was really emphasized by a lot of these ICOs, especially late 2017, early 2018. And yeah, there is a problem kind of separating signal from noise within this space. But at the same time, if you've been around for long enough, it becomes pretty obvious pretty quickly, as to how high quality or low quality the piece of content you're reading really is.
So you're solving this problem with the newsletter. What made you choose that?
Yeah, so as I said, there really wasn't this portal that was aggregating news, and I thought the newsletter was a good medium to do that. The thing about newsletters as a medium is that they're pushed directly into people's inboxes, which I think is really cool and really powerful. You don't actually have to drive traffic to a particular site; you're driving the traffic itself, which is very cool. And then I think it's quite a digestible medium as well. CryptoChat, perhaps not, because it's usually 2,000 words plus. So I don't quite know how digestible it is, but generally it's a format that you can digest, on your way to work, on your way home from work, waiting for a friend, whatever. It's a good medium. I'm quite bullish on newsletters generally as a medium, as I am on podcasts as well, as I'm sure you are. I'm sure we agree on that.
Yes, yeah. Now, that really is something that makes your newsletter different. It's not just a collection of links that you're sending out. This is a beefy email.
It is. And often I think it can be too beefy. So really, I've been writing it for over a year now. I certainly consider it a work in progress still. And what's great about the newsletter as well, I did say that I was trying to kind of aggregate this news and provide my audience with a kind of a distilled and curated frame through which to learn about this industry. But it's also very much a learning tool for myself. I'm a full-time researcher, advisor, I guess, unsophisticated investor, entrepreneur, if you will, in this industry, and I have a ton of learning to do, as I'm sure most people do. As in, I don't think the learning ever really stops. And again, what's so fascinating about this industry as an emerging industry is that these concepts, which are often understood to be kind of gospel, are then repudiated on a weekly basis. So you come back the next week and everything you thought you knew has been dismissed, and you kind of have to start again. So CryptoChat is certainly a tool through which I kind of learn about the industry as well. And what's great about it is that it really forces me to structure my thoughts and consider my particular theses and opinions on this industry. What's great as well is that I think it's also subject to Cunningham's law. Cunningham's law states that the best way to get the right answer on the internet is not to ask a question, it's to post the wrong answer. So I'm probably posting the wrong answer on a weekly basis. And what's great is that my audience, it really actively engages with me. So I'm often hearing from my subscribers, and if I put out something controversial, then they're very, very willing to fight back and test my assumptions. And that's been absolutely fantastic as far as learning experience goes.
Yeah, it's kind of sad. A lot of people are afraid of producing content because they're afraid of being wrong so publicly.
Absolutely. And that was something I really had to kind of overcome in the initial months. I'm not a particularly active, public speaker or public figure. I really like to keep to myself usually. But as I said, if you're really going to distinguish your product in this space, then you have to carve out a voice. You have to carve out an opinion. And so that's what I've been trying to do. And often it will rub people the wrong way, and that can be a good thing. Controversy is exciting, and it gets clicks and it gets eyeballs, and again, at the end of the day, I think it produces the best learning experiences.
I'm always trying to encourage people to create things because oftentimes they'll wait till it becomes perfect, but it'll never really, really be perfect.
I agree. I think everything is a work in progress, and it's funny because this idea of move fast and break things is kind of rejected within the protocol design space, and I'm very much of the opinion that it should be rejected. We should really move slow and make sure that these mechanisms that are being designed are fully kind of foolproof. But then, in the content space, I think absolutely you can move fast and break things and adapt and add new features. Certainly for CryptoChat, there's a whole host of features that I'm very excited to start integrating. And again, you can kind of A/B test with your audience and see what works and see what doesn't work. And I think what's great as well about having so when I started the newsletter, I think I really was one of the few newsletters out there, especially covering the Ethereum ecosystem. But this increased competition in some ways is bad because it's taking away certain subscribers and doesn't allow me to grow as quickly, and et cetera, et cetera. What it does do is competition. You can learn from your competition. You can see what other people are doing well, and then you can start copying their ideas if they're good ideas, kind of improving your own product. So yeah, competition is generally a good thing, even though in the short, medium term it can be slightly disappointing, scary.
So what have been some of the challenges of running this newsletter?
Sure. So I think one thing especially is just finding the right tone. Again, this is a very complex industry. It's a very layered industry. The technology that we're talking about is cutting edge, bleeding edge. I by no means have an excellent grasp over the technology. I don't come from a developer background, so really I try and understand everything I possibly can, but there's limits to my understanding. But relatively, I have a stronger understanding than most people, and it's about finding the right tone. My audience is split between active industry participants, and then it also contains professionals from outside of the crypto blockchain industry who don't have the same kind of esoteric knowledge that I think many industry participants take for granted. So finding the right tone, finding a balanced tone that appeals to those who are very much in the thick of it, whilst simultaneously appealing to those who only really interact with the industry through CryptoChat, was difficult. And I think I've done well to establish a middle ground there. But again, it's very much a work in progress. Another one of the challenges, as I said, is just competing in a crowded newsletter market. What has been difficult is just growing the brand itself. So I'm not sure if you're aware, but I am just over a year out of college. I graduated from Columbia in the summer of 2017. So when I started writing CryptoChat, I didn't have a professional brand. I didn't have an established network which could act as a foundation to build my audience. If you look at the token economy guys, I think they both had backgrounds in venture capital and were kind of able to leverage that network, that kind of Silicon Valley. I think they're also active in Europe, but we're also very much active in Silicon Valley, San Francisco. So they were able to leverage that network, and things kind of grew organically from there. I didn't have that foundation. So just building my brand as a young professional has been difficult. But again, a valuable experience, and kind of requires you to take some unorthodox routes, which again is interesting. Another thing is just, as I said, writing content in a rapidly changing, emerging industry. Every week is a learning experience for me. So, sorry, I don't know. Just cut this out. Edit. Well, no, as in, writing content in a rapidly emerging industry is difficult. As I said, the landscape is constantly shifting. The ground under your feet is disappearing. And then the last thing is just, finding the time to consume all this content, as in, especially over the last 6 months, I would say there's been a real proliferation of quality content. You're starting to see a lot more people interested in this industry, which I'm sure was mainly sparked by kind of the speculative mania that we saw throughout 2017. But my job is to curate and aggregate this content. And in order to do that effectively, I have to consume a lot of content as well. So just finding enough hours in the day to read through all this content and give it the time it deserves is difficult, especially because I'm also balancing some other activities, some advisory activity, as I mentioned, some unsophisticated investment activity. And then recently I also co-founded a venture within the space. And so I was giving a lot of my time and effort to that venture. So balancing CryptoChat was difficult, but again, you find ways around it.
So what are your plans for the future?
My plans for the future. So I have recently reached the year anniversary for CryptoChat, which was very exciting.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much. I think it was, so there's another newsletter out there, Crypto AM, published by R.V. Feldman. He's a very nice guy. I don't know him personally, but know him from Twitter. And yeah, just reaching the year anniversary was definitely important to me because, you're starting to see a lot of people launch newsletters, and once you actually start writing a newsletter, you realize that the return on investment isn't particularly high. I'm not getting paid for this. No one's paying me to write this newsletter. I don't do advertising. I don't really do referral links, all that stuff. It's a labor of love. And being able to publish consistently over a year period, I think takes some level of dedication. So I'm happy that I proved to myself that I could really dedicate myself to a project for that time period. As far as content goes, as I said, I'm starting to pivot away from just pure aggregation and pure presentation of what I think is commodified news. So trying to emphasize the analysis and opinion elements. I'm also hoping to integrate more data-focused features. There is a lot of interesting data in this industry. This industry produces a lot of cool data, both on-chain data and exchange-related data. And I think that whole side of the industry has been underserved so far. There are a couple very powerful resources out there. Of course, I have to give credit to Coinmetrics, to Dyer, can't pronounce that name. There's a lot of cool data-related sites, but I think there's a lot more that can be done there. So I'm excited to explore more data-related content, data visualizations. As far as CryptoChat goes, I'm looking towards some kind of syndication deals. I'm in very, very early stage talks with a couple high-profile institutions. One of which is an active industry participant. One which kind of sits outside of the industry. But speaking with a couple players there and seeing if they might consider syndicating CryptoChat or leading some kind of consolidation. I expect there to be a lot of consolidation within the newsletter and media space generally. My thesis as far as crypto-related media goes generally is that traditional institutions, media giants, the titans, will dominate. So you already see groups like Bloomberg, Reuters. They're both very, very active already, and they put out a lot of fantastic content. I think we're going to see groups like the Financial Times, Wall Street Journal also start building out dedicated crypto asset blockchain verticals. Everybody wants to build the Bloomberg of crypto, right? Forgetting that Bloomberg isn't going away anytime soon, and they already have the resources, they have the infrastructure, the brand to build a successful crypto-related product. So I think traditional media will dominate in the long term. They kind of just have to find their feet. I kind of just have to accept that and I have to accept my fate and kind of adapt to that. And if that means some kind of syndication deal, then that would be fantastic. Another thing, as far as future goals, it's quite a wholesome one, but I just would like to continue using CryptoChat as a lens through which to learn about this industry. I don't think I'm ever going to stop learning. Every single day opens my eyes to a new facet of this industry and new ideas and new theses. And it's absolutely fascinating. I can't imagine being in any other industry right now. It really is just the place to be. So yeah, I'm looking forward to just continue exploring through CryptoChat and continue sharing my thoughts and opinions and really just thoughts and opinions with my audience. It is actually very useful having this kind of weekly responsibility, if you will, to publish content. Not that anyone would, probably notice if I did start publishing, but I feel as if
You're probably very surprised.
Maybe I would be surprised. Maybe I would be. Sometimes there have been occasions where I haven't published because I've been traveling or something, and I have had some very concerned emails from people who thought I maybe fell down the stairs or got kidnapped or something awful. So yeah, I guess there is a responsibility. And again, I refer back to Cunningham's Law because CryptoChat is very much a way for me to interact with this audience and learn from their experiences. But yeah, specifically, there's a couple of interesting areas that I enjoy researching and I'm excited to continue researching, one of which is monetary policy and the various different monetary policies that these different crypto assets are adopting. Specifically, the comparison between Bitcoin and Ether's monetary policies. So I recently published a piece on Bitcoin's disinflationary monetary policy and why it is unsustainable from a security perspective. So that was a very interesting exercise, and I'm monitoring ETH's monetary policy or Ether's continually developing monetary policy very closely, and I'm excited to hopefully contribute to research on that front. I'm very, very interested in the stablecoin landscape and excited to see how it develops and which different models get the most traction. You have these fiat collateralized, crypto collateralized, algorithmic. It's a very interesting design space. Another subject that I find fascinating is on-chain governance. It's not something I really believe in, or I believe that can be done effectively. And again, I wrote quite extensively on this as it relates to EOS, but it is something that I think is fascinating to observe. And if there is a kind of real foolproof solution out there, then I'm very excited to learn more about that. And then, yeah, just excited to see this ecosystem continue to grow. So much innovation happening these days. It's just an absolute, what's the word? It's an absolute pleasure. It's an absolute privilege to just be sitting on the sidelines here and observing all this innovation. It really is a golden age of innovation.
Well, I highly suggest people subscribe to CryptoChat. It's a fantastic newsletter. Is there anything that I should have asked you that maybe I missed?
No, I think we covered most things, really. That's about it.
Well, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you, Jason. I've really enjoyed speaking to you.
You are a podcast listener and you're interested in crypto. Otherwise, why would you be listening to this show, right? Have you tried looking for new crypto and blockchain podcasts to listen to? If you've used Google, then you've probably found a whole bunch of clickbait articles. Top 10 lists that just list the same podcasts over and over again. And most of those podcasts aren't even active anymore. If you use iTunes, then you probably got a whole bunch of irrelevant results. The iTunes search function is absolutely awful. It's kind of like using Alta Vista in the 1990s. Keyword stuffing has made it almost unusable. So I made a site to fix this problem. Just go to crypto.podcastlist.net. On the site, you'll find a comprehensive list of all the active podcasts covering the blockchain, cryptocurrency, and other decentralization technologies. This is not a curated list of my favorite shows. This list is intended to be complete. I want to list every single show that is focused on this industry. I've got about 75 active shows on the list already. Please let me know if I've missed any shows. This list is also covered by a Creative Commons license, so feel free to reuse it and share it. Check out crypto.podcastlist.net if you are looking for new crypto and blockchain podcasts. And if you have your own show, please check and make sure you are listed. Once again, the site is crypto.podcastlist.net. Please check it out and tell me what you think.